Both Bronco! How about that one?
That's our new leaders right there.
Big Stewie!
University of Montevallo, 24-96.
The University of Montevallo wins its third straight title.
What's up, everybody? Welcome in for a new episode of the Rapala We Are Collegiate Bass Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Curry. New episode here this week, highlighting the Hartwell Slam, the latest event to happen for the ACA on the Bass Pro Shops Collegiate Bass Fishing Series. The winners of that tournament, Easton Fothergill and Nick Dumke from second-ranked University of Montevallo. We'll go ahead and bring them right on in. Winners of the tournament, first place, two-day total, 34.48 pounds. Nick, we'll start with you real fast, man. Coming out of practice, did you think there was a chance that this is how it was going to play out? Did you even know that a win was a possibility, or were y'all just hoping to get some good points and move on to the next one?
Yeah, it was kind of wild the way that things went down. We didn't really expect it, to be totally honest with you. Practice was decent. We were able to catch, one or two good ones a day, good ones being 4-pounders, and we figured that it was going to take a lot more weight for this event than it did. They were definitely biting really well in practice. That weather had them setting up right for how we wanted to fish. We were catching a good amount, but it was just really hard to get a big bite. So to come out with the win was a little bit unexpected, but we're very thankful that things went the way they did.
Yeah, 1856 for you guys on day one, just under 16 pounds with 1592 on day two. Easton, real quick, talk a little bit about how it all played out just in terms of right there, as you saw, 1856 had you all in good shape on day one, but then you fall off on day two and still get the victory. As you were going through the motions on that second day, did you think that there was a remote possibility that you could pull off the victory with that, or were y'all kind of unsure and maybe just going to be happy to get home with some good points and prizes?
Yeah, so after our weight dropped off on day two, me and Nick were both talking on our drive in after lines were out at 1:30. We were just talking like, man, I think we're one bite away. And just because we were totally expecting them to catch just as good, if not better, on day two, because on day one, there was like an incredible amount of tournament boats out there on the water. Like it was even hard to get on a place. Like every point, every piece of structure had a boat on day one. So we were just like, man, if everyone could get where they want on day two, I think weights will stay the same and go up. But that wasn't the case. And I think that was because it was sunny and glass calm all day on day two, which on that clear body of water, it can make the fishing really tough, which it did. But yeah, even with that, we were thinking we were one bite away on our drive in. So to come out with the win was really unexpected for us, and we're really super thankful for it.
Let's talk about how the fishing set up there at Lake Hartwell, Anderson, South Carolina, weigh-ins and stuff happening there at Green Pond Landing. Nick, we heard a little bit of everything from the anglers. And also, not to mention, we'll lead off with this, a lot of fish were caught. And so I think that means they were set up in a lot of different places. We had 220 teams registered for the tournament, and for the weekend, we weighed in just shy of 2,000 bass. So that's pretty much every team for 2 days almost caught their full limit of 5 and 5 or 10 for the event. That to be said, I think that speaks to how well the lake was fishing and maybe how spread out the bass were. We saw stuff live scope out over deep brush piles, kind of pre-spawn like you would expect textbook pre-spawn patterns to set up. We heard of fish and even saw them there around Green Pond, busting the surface, chasing bait early, and then other anglers I know were sight fishing. So how did y'all go about breaking down that, and what was the pattern that y'all went after, attacked for those Lake Hartwell winning bass?
Yeah, so in practice, we kind of did a little bit of everything like you mentioned, and there was definitely a lot of fish kind of doing all ends of the spectrum. We found some empty beds up shallow. Going into it, we were kind of hoping to catch 2 or 3, doing some herring kind of stuff, and then catch 1 or 2 big largemouth on the bank, whether it's on bed or cruisers, however that would be. That was kind of what we had going into it, or our game plan going into it. But it didn't really work out for us. The shallow deal just never really came together for us, and it was kind of hard for us to leave the herring stuff, to be honest. In practice, we were catching them what seemed to be the front end of kind of the herring spawn. Obviously, it's a pretty notorious thing in that region, and it definitely wasn't crazy by any means, but you could tell it was starting to go down. And I think just with some of the pressure and with the weather that was coming through, that deal kind of started to I wouldn't say necessarily get worse, but the fish definitely repositioned. And we saw throughout the week that our fish kept getting deeper and deeper, and we were able to stay on top of them, thankfully. And it was a really fun deal. It definitely would have been even more crazy another week or two from then, but yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it's a lake like that too, as big as it is. You can run north to south, east and west, and find fish in all different types of the spawn pre, during, and post. And seeing the fish, as you said, weighing them up on the stage, seeing some of them come out. Some of the big bass that were brought in as possible contenders for that title were spawned out and really skinny, and others of them were real stout, and you could tell they hadn't spawned yet. So it's a good indicator of how these fish were set up in all different parts of the spectrum. Easton, talk a little bit about those presentations that you went after them with, whether it was moving baits, soft plastics, watch them on your electronics and throwing something down at them. Kind of tell us a little bit about what y'all were throwing in your arsenal.
Yeah, everything we were throwing was herring imitated, lots of flukes. We did have a little bit of a magic swimmer bite in practice, but that really dwindled on us during the tournament as the conditions got calmer. But in the morning, it was mainly a fluke. We would throw that super shallow, and then like Nick said, we noticed as the day would go on, the fish would just slide a little bit deeper off those herring-type places, and we'd throw a variety of Damiki-style baits on a jig head to target those fish in the afternoon. We'd use forward-facing sonar to target those in the afternoon a little bit deeper. But in the morning, it was a lot of weightless flukes and stuff, just throwing them like pretty much in the dirt, like a foot or less of water. And there was a lot of schooling fish actually too that we would target with that weightless fluke. But yeah, it was just all about following the fish and really noticing and stay on top of when they start moving deeper to kind of transition out deeper with them.
Nick, let's talk a little bit about that bite, throwing kind of the jerk minnow, the soft plastic jerk bait, fluke as you're calling it, up shallow. That's something that when I was in school at Arkansas, Beaver Lake, pretty clear, deep, similar to Lake Hartwell in some respects, but obviously not the herring. It's clear though, and they would chase the shad, and you'd work that bait. And I know coming from where I was back home, when I went up there, whether it's topwaters or kind of a jerk minnow type bait like that, soft plastic jerk bait, the speed with which those guys worked that lure was something that I had never seen before until I went up to school up there. When you're targeting those fish like that, seeing at professional level events out on those fisheries as well, that's something that plays a role. How were you retrieving that bait, and was there something kind of specific you were doing? I know for me, it may have just been something in my head, but I would dip the tail yellow on a white fluke just to make it a little different. And as that bait's darting across the water, it's something for them to key in on an attack. Anything specific in your retrieve or in the way you were rigging and presenting that bait that was kind of key or different due to the way Hartwell sets up in the nature of the clear water?
Yeah, it was definitely important the way that we were working it. That was one thing that we kind of noticed throughout the week and kind of got dialed in with was it seemed to vary day by day. When the wind was blowing really hard, they really liked it, working it super fast. Putting a ton of different action into the bait, working your rod tip super fast, kind of making that thing flying through the water column. When the wind was rolling like that, they were pretty fired up. But once it got calm on those tournament days, we had to slow it way down, almost using forward facing to kind of see how they're reacting. Although the fluke's up high in the water column, obviously up on the surface, having forward facing to kind of see how they wanted it was definitely a big thing. On the mornings, it seemed like, you could get them pretty fired up, but then once it got calm and, those fish started to simmer down a little bit, slowing it down was definitely key for us. And messing with colors too seemed to help a lot. We both had like 7 different colors that we were going through, 7 or 8 different colors, just kind of finding what was right, based off of whether it was cloudy, sunny, calm. Just making sure that those fish can have something that they can see or not see very well, kind of going for the more clear colors when it got really, really calm. So,
yeah, it's always kind of a balancing act to do in those scenarios, especially when they're keyed in on bait fish like that or during the spawn. It's, it's one or the other. It's the most neutral, normal prey-looking type bait, or it's this gaudy, bright thing that they just can't resist to eat. And figuring out that pattern is always fun to hear, whether it's a shad spawn or sight fishing like that. One more question about the fishing, and then we'll transition to talking about School of the Year race, Bass Pro Shop School of the Year, presented by Abu Garcia and all that. Easton, last question here. When you go into a herring tournament like that, I have to ask every time we go out to Lake Hartwell, because it's the only place that sets up with these like that on our trail currently. When you go to Lake Hartwell and you're getting ready, what is different in your preparation, both including kind of game planning areas where the fish are going to set up because they do relate so heavily to the herring, as well as the lures and baits that you're going to tie on, knowing that, as y'all have mentioned, that shad spawn was kind of starting to happen. So that's what those bass were really migrating towards. Talk a little bit about the planning and preparation for the area and the style of baits you're going to throw and how those herring impact it.
Yeah, so when Nick and I show up to a herring place like Hartwell, we always try to move as fast as possible. You know, when you roll up to a place like Hartwell, it usually only takes 1 or 2 casts and you can pull the fish off what they're sitting on, and then at that point it's pretty much useless and you have to move on. So we've kind of adopted this, you know, fish incredibly fast style, I guess you could say, for a lake like that. And both days of the tournament, we burned a little more than 30 gallons of gas each day. Just that's how much running and gunning we do each day. And you know, it's you end up driving more than you're actually fishing, but you know that's what you got to do on a lake like that, just to stay on fresh fish all day long. And almost always bait wise there, it's something imitating herring. Like I said, it can be a hard bait sometime, like a topwater or like a Seville. But for this week for us with the calm conditions, it was more the finesse fluke style baits. But yeah, our main thing for us is running and gunning and fishing as fast as we can all day long.
We're talking with Easton Fothergill and Nick Dumke from second-ranked University of Montevallo, winners of the Hartwell Slam just a couple weeks ago over at Lake Hartwell in Anderson, South Carolina. 2-day total of 34.48 pounds to get the win. That victory earning them a $1,000 Bass Pro Shops gift card, $50 AFCO gift card, 2 13 fishing reels, Rapala tackle package, 2 pairs of Bahio sunglasses, 2 turtle box speakers, and 2 trailer valet hitches. Along with that, valuable points to count towards the Bass Pro Shop School of the Year presented by Abu Garcia, of which Montevallo's 2 highest finishing teams was this pairing here in first, as well as their teammates in 19th. So for the weekend, that earned y'all just over 3,300 points. Nick, earning that valuable points, getting that first place victory, continuing that momentum, as we'll talk about here in a little bit, as y'all are in pursuit of 4 straight titles. Being able to get that first place victory and contribute to the team in such a manner, what does that mean for you two?
It means a lot. Yeah, we're definitely, that's the number one thing on our mind is getting that 4th School of the Year title. That was what we talked about coming into this year. That was one of the first things at our meetings that's the main goal, getting that 4th Team of the Year. And we knew that we'd have a lot of work cut out for us. There's a lot of crazy good fishermen right now all across all of college fishing, and it seems like that's a lot of other teams' goals as well, as getting that School of the Year title. And you can see it. I mean, it's crazy competitive. The race is super tight right now, and we need every single point that we can get when it comes down to it at the final event of the year. I think it's going to be a really tight race. So definitely getting that win and another couple of teams in the top 20 getting those good points definitely means a lot.
Just over a month left in the 23-24 race for Bass Pro Shop School of the Year presented by Abu Garcia. It's going to conclude there the first part of June. Triple Points Collegiate Bass Fishing Championship presented by Bass Pro Shops coming up for the ACA next on the schedule at the end of May. Easton, same thing as Nick just answered there. To get those valuable points, a first-place victory, you know, every time we talk to these teams that are shooting for this title, it's get 2 teams as high as possible. Well, when you finish in first place, you can't finish any higher than that. To secure those points, like y'all did, having that other team to back it up inside the top 20, talk about the significance of that victory and the momentum for the team, as we'll also get to this in just a minute, the momentum that carried over into the following week with another victory, and then you guys having a strong finish. It all builds upon itself. So the significance of that victory for you two as an anglers and the team as well.
Yeah, having our victory and then the week after us the victory at Kentucky Lake with Blair and Jackson, it's really just a big confidence boost for our whole team, and that's one of the biggest things in fishing is you got to have confidence in what you're doing. And for our team to see 2 wins in a row just gives everyone on the whole team a bunch of confidence. And yeah, those 2 wins, it's just been the team's been working really well together. You know, just helping each other out whenever we can, and just lifting each other up after every day on the water, just making sure we're all in a good place in our heads, and just, yeah, like I said, we're all fishing with really good confidence now. And as long as we're all shooting for the win for the rest of the season, I really like where we'll be at the end of the season.
Nick, let's talk a little bit about what happened then the following week, Bassmaster College Series over at Kentucky Lake. I was watching the weigh-in, and I knew I was already going to have to reach out to y'all to talk about the Hartwell Slam, and I'm thinking we're about to have to talk about another tournament victory while we talk about we'd be talking about 2 victories. It ended up not playing out that way as your teammates edged you out right at the end, but as things played out that week, coming off the victory that y'all had secured, and then your teammates, essentially y'all go 1-2, man, again, the time that I've spent here with the ACA, only on just a few occasions, I think it just at our events, once has it ever happened, has a team gone first and second. I believe it was Montevallo at Pickwick during the spring a couple years ago. Maybe some teams gone first and third, but I mean, first and second, that's the ultimate goal. Kind of talk about how the week played out at Kentucky Lake and the success that the team found.
Yeah, it was a super fun event. We kind of hit that place at a pretty magical time, I'd say, the way that the moon was coming together and the weather. There was a lot of spawning smallmouth action going on, and it kind of showed in the top of the leaderboard. There was a lot of northern guys that you could definitely tell could relate it to back home. That's definitely how it felt for us. We got there with a day and a half of practice and noticed pretty quick that it felt a lot like back home, fishing for deep bedding smallmouth like that. And there's a lot of smallmouth kind of in that pre-spawn, post-spawn, actively spawning phase. So yeah, it was definitely a comfortable thing for us. It was a lot of fun. Like I said, felt like back home. And anytime that, as a Minnesota guy or a couple of Minnesota guys, anytime that we can get around smallmouth, it's a lot of fun. It feels good to see those guys again, some familiar faces. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I'm sure that Blair would say the same thing. And a big congrats to those guys for bringing it home. It was awesome to see them absolutely smash them like they did. And anytime to see, a falcon on top, it's a good thing. So.
It's funny you describe it that way and the way that it's set up for the northern guys, because I was watching it from here and keeping up with the standings and things. And now that you say it, I look back and like Adrian College had several teams up high. Southwestern Michigan had several teams up high. These people that have a lot of skill and knowledge targeting smallmouth bass were up there towards the top. So cool to see you break it down like that and talk about it. Our goal will be to have y'all's teammates, the winners of that event at Kentucky Lake, on for the next episode. So if you're tuning in today, be sure to be on the lookout for that, dropping soon as well. Easton, also too, you real quick, talking about the success of the team at Kentucky Lake to have those two high finishes and maximize the amount of points that you could earn. Leaving that tournament with just, I think now probably on your schedule, I think maybe just one more opportunity for double points, triple points, and at the major events, Montevallo is done. So to have the best outcome possible there at Kentucky Lake, what does that mean for you guys?
It means a lot for our team overall. It just gives us a whole bunch of momentum moving forward, and along with that confidence, like I said earlier, if we can have our whole team just with the momentum and confidence behind us, I think we'll be pretty powerful these last tournaments going into the 2024 season. So, but yeah, that definitely means a lot to our school, getting maximum points. And like Nick said earlier, it's going to take every point we can get at the end of the year here at Pickwick with the triple point event. It's going to be really close, and we can definitely take any point we can get.
Two more questions, and then we'll let you guys run. Nick, let's talk real quick about, I'm going to ask a pretty generic, simple question, but we'll try and get a little bit more in-depth in the response. What's got to be done here the next couple of weeks? I want to kind of lean on this part of it. You guys have been a part of several of the past teams that have won the Bass Pro Shop School of the Year presented by Abu Garcia for Montevallo. Knowing what it takes down the stretch to get the job done, what are y'all looking at? What are you stressing, focusing on here as you have just a few more tournaments left until the hay's in the barn and we wait and see where the points fall? Talk a little bit about what the team's got to accomplish, what the goals are to be able to ultimately achieve what y'all are shooting for.
Yeah, we definitely got to keep our foot on the gas here. We've had a pretty crazy past couple of tournaments, and we need things to keep going the way that they have, definitely. We've talked about that as a team. Coach has put some emphasis on that we just can't let off. Everyone's been fishing crazy hard, and it's shown in the results, and that's just what we need. We have to not let up at all because we got a lot of teams. Carson Newman, I think, is leading. We're in second, obviously, and there's a lot of other teams staring down that title that are right there. And so to be able to compete with those guys, we're just going to have to keep fishing crazy, crazy hard, giving it our all. And if we do that, hopefully things will go our way and we can pull off a fourth Team of the Year title.
Yeah, I'll try and make this make sense as we talk because I can't show it. But as the points lay out, Carson Newman's had one more double points event than y'all have on the schedule for points accounted for up until last week. So as of the Kentucky Lake event, when the next points update comes out, essentially that's about as even as it'll get. Is y'all have fished one more on one trail and then one more on the other than you have, but both double points, both worth the same. So ultimately where we're looking at the next points update, depending on when I get this edited, it might have already been out or be set to come out really soon. There's going to be a major shakeup. Y'all are likely going to be jumping into that top spot, and that's kind of a direct reflection of where the race is at the moment, as there's each team, I believe, will have one more double points event and then the ACA triple points till the end of the season. So that to be said, it's rounding into form. It's coming into shape. There's about 3 or 4 teams right there at the top that are really within striking distance. A few more kind of have an outside shot, but it's taking shape. It's a really awesome race, and it's going to build up to Pickwick Lake here in just a few weeks, to where I want to ask this of Easton. I asked you it on the stage. And Anderson, yourself, you've been a part of a lot of major accomplishments, both personally and as a part of the team over the last couple of years. To be able to cap it off, continue to write into the history books University of Montevallo's name, winning that 4th title this year, what would that mean to yourself and to the club?
It would mean the world to me. That would be like the capstone on my college career. I feel like winning 4th title. Like I said, it would just mean the world to me. And to accomplish that, I think it's going to take us older guys like Nick and I and all the other seniors, just to make sure the whole team's in line. Just make sure everyone has confidence and we do everything that we need to do. But yeah, that would mean the world to me to leave college with a 4th School of the Year title.
That'll wrap up our conversation with Easton Fothergill and Nick Dumke from second-ranked University of Montevallo, winners of the Hartwell Slam just a few weeks ago, as the team, University of Montevallo, is in pursuit of winning their 4th straight title for the Bass Pro Shop School of the Year, presented by Abu Garcia. Guys, thanks for joining us today. Best of luck, and we'll see you at our next stop here in just a couple weeks.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Welcome to Minnow King. How can I help you?
Everything looks good. I'm friggin' starving, man. Been spawning all morning.
Ugh, TMI, bro. What do you want?
I'll take a Crush City freeloader and gizzard shad.
Anything to drink.
Water.
Pull ahead, please. Welcome to Minnow King.
We're gonna have what he's had.
Yeah, throw me in a Ned BLT, too.
Pull ahead, please.
Calm down. Quit feeding him so much.
Hey, man, I'm trying to, man. If you
If you overfeed him, he's gonna hide under a log.